government revealed the prevalence of mosquitoes and its resultant malaria disease in the areas. The residents lamented the high cost of treating malaria whenever they fell sick, with some resorting to the use of local herbs to save costs.
Mosquito, they describe us well.
For where?
For Cape Market here, the whole Cape as both yard and the market. Because of no cleanup.
Or sometimes after using English medicine, you find out that malaria is still disturbing the person. So we are now applying the native.
They drink two of it with them tablet and root.
We use mosquito nets where government give us. Then we put the mosquito bomb. Then if you get malaria, we will go buy malaria nets also go hospital.
I prefer going to hospital because without you know what is happening to you, you cannot treat malaria. Maybe you might be taking agbo. You don't know the source. Whether you are sick or not, it might be stress. I pray that government should provide more nets for families, for children.
Where health center is very, very far from us. Before, even our transport from here, from this Omeriboma Camp 1 to that Oko Amakom is 500. So when you are coming back, it's 1,000. So if you check it, the stress is too much. If you didn't have the money before you from here to trek and reach that place, you get tired. So that is why we normally miss drugs in chemists. They are not cheap, it's very cost. Only the missing for my daughter, 500 naira this morning, a dose. So please, we are begging for government to help us, especially tents, if they can share us drugs for malaria to help ourselves.
Speaking on the efforts of the state government in protecting its citizens from the scourge of malaria, the Director General of the Delta State Contributory Health Scheme, Dr. Isaac Akpoveta, said malaria test and treatment is included in the services provided in the Delta State Contributory Health Scheme, adding that the Commission was operating various initiatives to cater for all segments of the society, including the Indigent Enrollee Adoption Initiative, Artisan Inducement Enrollee Initiative, tertiary institutions' social health insurance, to ensure no one is left behind in the fight against malaria and other ailments.
So all these initiatives that we put in place are what we are using to drive home the rapid enrollment of Deltans into the scheme to protect them against all illness, especially malaria. It's in the scheme, and all drugs that are bought are standard drugs from manufacturers, and they are good drugs. Any drug in general hospital, the general hospitals are not allowed to buy drugs from the streets. And I want to appeal to people, please follow doctor's prescription religiously.
The Chief Nursing Officer, Ubolu Primary Healthcare Center, Mrs. Chinwe Okwedo, advised citizens to avail themselves of regular medical checkup and stop the habit of self-medication as they make efforts to protect themselves and their households from malaria.
Bushy areas attract mosquito. So anything, stagnant water that is not flowing can equally attract mosquito. A dirty environment generally, personal hygiene is equally important to make sure that we achieve what we want.
Eunice Emeyazia reported.
The Chairman, Governing Council, Osun State College of Technology, SLK, Honorable Diran Odeyemi, has called on government for adequate funding of technology institutions to enable them train students on skill acquisition programs that are required for development of the nation. Honorable Odeyemi noted that there is no nation around the world that developed without giving priority to polytechnic and technological institutions, adding that much attention should be given to polytechnic education in Nigeria. The chairman said that education at the polytechnic level should be given a pride of place because that was the only institution where skills were acquired for self-development. Honorable Odeyemi noted that the objectives of establishing polytechnics and schools of technology were for training and skills acquisition to help drive economy from consumption to production. He used the occasion to implore Alumni Association of the institution to come to the aid of some less privileged students who were willing to read, though lacked financial capability to fund their education. A total of 118 inmates of the Medium Security Custodial Center, Suleja, Niger State, broke jail yesterday following hours of heavy downpour, which destroyed parts of the facility. Spokesman of the Federal Capital Territory Command of the Nigeria Correctional Service, Mr. Adamu Duza, disclosed this in a statement today. Mr. Duza said the heavy downpour lasted for several hours and wreaked havoc on the Medium Security Custodial Center, as well as surrounding buildings, destroying parts of the facility, including its perimeter fence, giving way to the escape of the inmates. He stated that the service had activated its recapturing mechanisms in conjunction with sister security agencies and so far had recaptured 10 fleeing inmates and taken them into custody, while still in a hot chase to recapture the rest. There was confusion in the early hours of today when a suspicious electrical spark triggered fire at the E54 wing of the old terminal of the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, Lagos. Reports say officials of the airport rescue and firefighting services responded to the incident, mobilizing to put out the fire from spreading to other parts of the terminal. Confirming the incident, spokesperson of the Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria, Mrs. Obiageliora, said a quick intervention of the electrical engineers saved the situation as they immediately cut off power supply to the E-wing access of the terminal. She said all flight operations in Terminal 1 of the Lagos International Airport had been diverted to the D-wing, adding that efforts were on to ventilate the building. Mrs. Ora said the initial suspicions pointed to sparks from an electrical unit, adding that a thorough investigation was, however, going on to ascertain the cause of the fire. Sources at the airport said the fire broke out at about 3:30 a.m. and was brought under control by 6:41 a.m. This is Delta TV News at 8. Still to come, Naira drops against the US dollar in the parallel market. Details of the story and many more will come after the short break. Please stay tuned. Back. Now the news continues. The Global Scene is next as we join our World News Desk.
Resolution at the UN Security Council calling on all countries to prevent an arms race in outer space. The draft resolution put forward by the US and Japan sought to reaffirm a principle already set out in the 1967 Outer Space Treaty. The US had warned that Russia was believed to be developing a space-based anti-satellite nuclear weapon. Russia said it was firmly committed to the existing treaty. The draft put forward yesterday called on all states, in particular those with major space capability, to contribute actively to the objective of the peaceful use of outer space and the prevention of an arms race in outer space. It also called on countries to uphold the Outer Space Treaty, under which all parties agreed not to place in orbit around the Earth any objects carrying nuclear weapons or any other kind of weapons of mass destruction. 13 voted in favor, while Russia, one of 5 permanent members with a veto, voted against, and China abstained. The U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, Ms. Linda Thomas-Greenfield, called the move baffling, saying that Russia had vetoed a straightforward resolution that affirmed a legally binding obligation.
You are following the rules, would you not support a resolution that reaffirms them? What could you possibly be hiding? It's baffling and it's a shame. This is not the outcome the United States wanted. And given the vote count, it is not the outcome the rest of this council wanted either.
President Putin had said publicly that Russia had no intention of deploying nuclear weapons in space. Ukraine has begun using long-range ballistic missiles secretly provided by the U.S. against invading Russian forces. The weapons were part of a $300 million aid package approved by U.S. President Joe Biden in March and which arrived this month. Reports said they had been used once to strike Russian targets in occupied Crimea. In a recent development, Mr. Biden signed a new $61 billion package of aid for Ukraine. The U.S. previously supplied Ukraine with a mid-range version of the Army tactical missile system and had been reluctant to send anything more, partly over concerns about compromising U.S. military readiness. Arizona has indicted a number of former President Donald Trump's advisors over an alleged scheme to flip his defeats in the states and overturn the 2020 election results. Ex-Trump advisors Mr. Rudy Giuliani and Mr. Mark Meadows were among 18 indicted on counts including conspiracy and fraud. Arizona is the 4th U.S. state to file criminal charges in a fake election scheme. Mr. Trump was not charged in the alleged Arizona plot. The names of 7 defendants were redacted in the indictment made public yesterday, which names 11 others. The Arizona prosecutor's office said the redacted names would be made public after all the defendants were formally presented with the charges. The parents of an Israeli-American hostage in Gaza have urged him to stay strong and survive after Hamas released a proof-of-life video. Hersh Goldberg Polin, 23, was seen without his lower left arm in the short clip and was blown off during Hamas' October 7 attack on the southern Israel. The footage was undated, but he says he had been held for almost 200 days. In response, his mother and father appealed for more to be done to secure a new hostage release deal. They urged Israel, Hamas, and mediators, the U.S., Egypt, and Qatar to get a deal done to reunite all of them with their loved ones and end the suffering in the region. Mr. Goldberg Polin said he needed medical help and was critical of the Israeli government's attempt to negotiate the hostages' return. Weeks of indirect negotiation had failed to produce an agreement with Hamas, rejecting the latest proposal for a 6-week ceasefire in exchange for the release of 40 of the remaining 133 hostages. At least 30 hostages were presumed dead. Israel appeared to be moving ahead with plans for an offensive in Rafah, southern Gaza, despite warnings of the potentially catastrophic humanitarian consequences for the 1.5 million displaced Palestinians sheltering there.
Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Information, Mr. Lucky Omokri, has meritoriously retired from the state civil service after 33 years of service. A send-forth party was today organized in his honor by the ministry. Henry Usiayo reports.
The State Commissioner for Information, Dr. Ifeanyi Oswoza, and the Commissioner for Works, Rural Roads, Mr. Charles Anyago, in their remarks, described Mr. Lucky Omokri as one who was passionate about his duty and who was always pushing for a better staff welfare in the ministry. They wished him well in his future endeavors, saying the ministry will always be in touch with him to tap from his wealth of experience.
My appointment as commissioner, when I confirmed that it was the handiwork of God, was when I was made information commissioner, and Omobi was a functioning PS. So I concluded that this is from God, because like appointing you commissioner to a PS who's your friend and brother, and my relationship with him has never changed ever since. Just like the commissioner for work said, Mr. Omobi is very passionate about staff welfare.
I had the privilege of working with all of you here, and particularly the man that is bowing out today. And I can say authoritatively that once you have a Omobi working with you, you can be rest assured that you're going to get all the support that you require from a partner.
The chairman of the occasion, Comrade Samuel Diatake, in his remarks, urged civil servants to at all times maintain confidentiality and adhere to ethics and standards in order for them to conduct themselves with integrity and avoid conflict of interest, while maintaining the culture of treating all individuals fairly and impartially.
I say he's a serious-minded person because when he comes to doing his job, he's focused, he's diligent, very hardworking.
Chairman of the Planning Committee and now functioning Permanent Secretary in the Ministry, Mrs. Theresa Uliko, lauded his predecessor for his contributions to the growth of the ministry, the civil service, and the state at large.
And his contribution to the development and stability of the ministry, especially in the last 3 years of his illustrious career, when he served as functioning Permanent Secretary, is a testament to his dedication and commitment to public service.
The General Manager of the Delta Broadcasting Service, DBS Asaba, Mrs. Christine Emetulu, and others in their goodwill messages said Mr. Omokri's wealth of experience was something that would be greatly missed and wished him well in his retirement.
Omokri was somebody who is open, who is loyal, who is given to hard work whenever you call upon him. Somebody you can rely on. Very reliable and trustworthy person as far as the job is concerned.
I'm very friendly, very family. The both of us told you what you have done wrong, but you still find a way to get you out of it. Today, I want to say, God has really used you to help us, and I believe that you will continue to play that part in you.
Because it is not easy to start from day 1 to 33 years. He's a humble man, like I know him, and he's a very jovial man.
As a union, I want to say he has shown sign of respect and inspiration to us that we should be dedicated to our duties. He has shown that through his style of leadership.
Mr. Omokri, in an interview, said that Delta State Civil Service was a well-organized one and thanked all for identifying with him.
It's a great civil service that enables every hard-working, dedicated, competent civil servant to rise without any kind of get up to the highest position.
Henry Usiayu, reporting.
The State House of Assembly Committee on Education has expressed optimism that the state government will strive to ensure that the Agency for Adult and Non-Formal Education and the Institute for Continuing Education achieve the purpose for its establishment. The chairman of the House Committee on Education, Honorable Charles Emetulu, gave the assurance when the committee visited the both establishments in continuation of its oversight functions. Over again to Henry Usiayu.
The director of the Agency for Adult and Non-Formal Education, Mr. Anthony Abonovo, told the committee that the agency was saddled with the responsibility of promoting social change and development through adult literacy and adult basic education. Mr. Abonovo emphasized that the agency also combats illiteracy among rural women in order to enhance their skills, thus making them more productive and enabling them to generate income, alleviate poverty, and empower disadvantaged groups. He highlighted challenges facing the agency, to include shortage of facilitators in the agency, which he said had rendered some of the centers non-functional.
The stipends are not paid to facilitators. Local government are supposed to be who have the sole responsibility of paying those stipends, relegate, they don't pay. And the state government is supposed to augment. Severally we have written the approval, have not gotten any of the approvals.
The chairman of the House Committee on Education, Honorable Charles Emetulu, in his response said the agency played a significant role in promoting literacy in the state, especially with the aged who were willing to be literate. He advised the agency to liaise with the Association of Local Governments of Nigeria, AGON, to help them meet up some of their challenges. The legislator expressed hope that the agency will achieve its aims and objectives.
So I know this is very useful to our people, particularly now that we are going very digital. Where literacy must count. You have to have basic literacy to even be able to press phones and all of that. I don't want to simply sympathize with you, but I want to say that there is hope. There is hope, which is why we've come with your commissioners, so that you too, as director here, your team, from time to time, give them updates.
At the Institute of Continuing Education, the chairman of the board of the institute, Comrade Florence Omoni Johnson, solicited the support of the committee to enable the institute achieve its mandate. Comrade Omoni Johnson highlighted challenges faced by the institute, to include shortage of staff and poor infrastructures.
Sir, this budget increase is very vital to this institution because our board's organization tour of the schools under the zones will identify some teething problems militating against the progress of this institution. Some of the challenges are renovation of the dilapidated buildings.
Honorable Emetulu, in his remarks, urged the institute to revive its moribund diploma program, as facilities at the Asaba Center were more than adequate to enable the school to continue the program. On the vandalization of some of its infrastructures, he implored the authorities to use the instrumentality of communities to protect their facilities.
We would have to take the initiative to make the move to get that diploma program back on track. The House will back you when you are ready to push for it.
The House Committee assured the Institute of its continued support. Henry Usiayu reporting.
Now, let's join our business news desk for happenings in the business sector.
Naira against the US dollar on the black market, following renewed demand pressure in the foreign exchange market. With the current exchange rate, the Naira has lost 19.4% in 2 weeks, compared to 1,125 Naira per dollar, quoted on April 12, 2023 on the parallel market, popularly called the black market. At the Nigerian Autonomous Foreign Exchange Market, the Naira depreciated to 1,308 Naira per dollar yesterday, compared to the level on April 12, 2024. The Naira has weakened by 12.69% from 1,142 Naira per dollar in the last 2 weeks, according to data from the FMDQ Security Exchange. The CBN, in a letter to BDCs, announced the allocation of $10,000 to bureau de change operators across the country. The allocation comes at a rate of 1,021 Naira per dollar, aimed at stabilizing the foreign exchange market and ensuring accessibility of foreign currency to eligible end users. According to a letter released by the CBN to the President Association of Bureau de Change Operators of Nigeria, all eligible BDCs are directed to initiate payment of the Naira deposit to specified CBN Naira deposit account number starting from Monday, April 22, 2024. Upon submission of confirmation of payment and necessary documentation, the CBN will disburse foreign exchange at the respective CBN branches. The directives emphasizes that BDCs are obligated to sell the allocated foreign currencies to eligible end users at a spread not exceeding 1.5% above purchase price. The measure aimed to ensure transparency and fair pricing in the foreign exchange market, thereby benefiting both BDCs operators and end users. The cement market in the last couple of weeks has seen a significant turnaround, with price tumbling from between 10,000 Naira and 15,000 Naira to between 7,000 Naira and 8,000 Naira per 50 kg bag, depending on the location. The sudden rise in the prices of cement and other major building materials in February this year introduced upset in the construction industry, especially in real estate, where many developers were forced to abandon building sites. Retailers and major distributors have attributed the price drop to a low demand and government's intervention, recalling that at the peak of the price hike, the federal government had called a meeting with major producers where it was agreed that a bag of cement should sell for 7,000 naira to 8,000 naira depending on location sites. According to the marketers, producers, however, did not comply with the agreement immediately, causing a situation where Nigerians stopped demanding for cement, with many project sites abandoned, as developers sat back and waited for the price to come down. Concluded that what had now happened was an interplay of demand and supply, with price responding, which they said was economies at work. Airfares across local destinations in Nigeria have remained high despite reports that Dangote Petroleum Refinery reduced the price of diesel and aviation fuel to 940 naira and 980 naira per litre, respectively. This comes after widely celebrated price reduction to 1,000 naira barely 2 weeks ago. Report says that aviation fuel currently takes about 45% of operating costs, labor 17%, aircraft rent and ownership 8.5%, non-aircraft rent and ownership 7%, professional service 4.5%, landing fee 2%, food and beverage 1.5%, maintenance material 13%, and transport-related 1.5%. It costs about $3,000 to operate a B-73. It costs about $3,000 to operate a B-737 aircraft on a 1-hour flight when aviation fuel 100 naira per litre about 5 years ago. Similarly, when aviation fuel increased to 200 naira per litre, airline operate a B-737 aircraft at a cost of about 6,000 naira. Business Day findings shows that with the current exchange rate and increase in aviation fuel, which currently costs about 1,500 naira per litre, airlines operate a B-737 aircraft for over quadruple that amount. Report shows that a one-way economic class ticket from Lagos to Abuja, which cost 55,000 naira a few months ago, now costs between 100,000 naira to 140,000 naira on Air Peace, 90,000 naira to 150,000 naira on United Nigerian Airlines, 75,000 naira to 130,000 naira on Dana Air, and 150,000 naira to 190,000 naira on Ebom Air.
In sports, former tennis world #1 Rafael Nadal of Spain has revealed that he could miss this year's French Open if he feels incapable of taking part in the clay court Grand Slam. 37-year Nadal, who missed out of the competition for the first time in 19 years, has said if he is not fit to go through the rigors of the competition, he would pull out. Nadal, who returned to action last week following over a year absence from the sport, had won his first game but lost in the end round to Alex de Minaur of Australia, had not played tennis since January this year. The 14-time French Open champion has, however, assured that he still had time to make it. A decision saying the Roland Garros remained his favorite hunting ground, asserting that he would keep working to be fit for the competition. Nadal, who has won 22 Grand Slam titles, trails his rivals Novak Djokovic, who has won 24 Grand Slam titles. Former Italian Serie A champions Napoli has inquired over the availability of Super Eagles striker Terry Murphy as they look for the replacement of Super Eagles talisman Victor Osimhen. Murphy, who has had a successful season with Nice in the third Nigerian striker to be chased by Napoli, after inquiring over the availability of Victor Boniface of Bayer Leverkusen and Joshua Zirkzee of Bologna. The Italian giants are also trailing another Nigerian, Jonathan David, who plies his trade for Lille Metropole in the French Ligue 1 following his exploits in the club this season. Osimhen, who led Napoli for their first ever Italian Serie A title in the last 30 years last season, is said to be on his way out of Napoli, with Paris Saint-Germain and either Chelsea or Manchester United as his next destination. The 25-year-old striker, who is rated among the top 5 strikers in the world, has a release clause of 150 million euros, with PSG said to be the only club willing to meet the release clause as they seek to replace French talisman Kylian Mbappe with Osimhen. Mbappe could move to Spanish giant Real Madrid at the end of the season, despite PSG still keen on holding onto the player after offering him a higher wage that could make him the highest paid footballer in the world. The police in Asaba has declared several persons missing across the state. The report.
The missing persons are 6-year-old Ibrahim Musa of Jarret area, Asaba, who left home for a nearby mosque and has since not been seen. He speaks Hausa and English languages fluently. 16-year-old Egiga Tobeji of Bonsak area, Asaba, is dark in complexion and speaks English language fluently, while having an understanding of French and Cotonou languages. He reportedly left his working site for an unknown destination and has since not returned. Similarly, 16-year-old Chigoziem Bacho of Okpanan Road, Asaba, left for an unknown destination and has not been seen since then. He was a house help to one Eze Fanyi of the same address and speaks Igbo and English languages fluently. 22-year-old Blessing Eyoma of Jedo community in Okpe local government area is dark complexioned and speaks Urobo and English languages fluently. He too left for an unknown destination and has since not returned. Other missing persons are Kingsley Maja Ejenana of Ozoro Isoko North local government area. He is 30, fair complexioned, not mentally sound, and speaks Soko and English language fluently. 44-year-old Frank Ebuka of Achalibuzo, Asaba, who has not been seen since he reportedly left for Lagos to procure a visa to travel abroad. 52-year-old Uchemo Kwenye of Abo, Eka South local government area, fair complexioned, and speaks Eka and English languages. 65-year-old Ubie Jepo, 6 feet tall, who speaks Urobo, Ope, and English fluently, is of unsound mind and suffering from dementia. She left home in a commercial tricycle, popularly known as Keke, and has not been seen since. Moses Ukwerabo of Abo, Eka South local government area, is 72, dark complexion, grey-headed, and speaks Edo, Eka, and English languages. He left home for a stroll and has since not returned home. The police has asked persons with useful information on the whereabouts of any of these missing persons to report to the police station nearest to them.
That's the size of a news bulletin for today. Now a thought for the day. You are never too old to set another goal or to dream a new dream. Just before we go, let's take a look at some of our major stories. The state government has given assurance of its commitment to work with the National Boundary Commission and all relevant stakeholders to resolve interstate boundary issues affecting various communities in the state in a bid to ensure peace and security. The State's House of Assembly Committee on Education has expressed optimism that the state government will strive to ensure that the Agency for Adult and Non-Formal Education and the Institute for Continuing Education achieve the purpose for its establishment. The chairman of the House Committee on Education, Honorable Charles Emetulu, gave the assurance when the committee visited the both establishments in continuation of its oversight functions. We also reported that in business, the Naira today drops against the US dollar in the parallel market. That ends Delta TV News at 8. Thank you so much for watching. I am Blessing Usiagwada. We wish you a peaceful and restful night. Goodbye.